sports fans from, excuse me, all around the world. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Saturday, December 24th, as we get one step closer till Christmas and the new year. Before you know it, we'll be talking 2022. Yesterday, myself and Scott had an amazing show. Scotty spot on both games for our ECSI VIPs. Been a rough week. You get into these ruts where you're on the wrong side of every bad break. Last night, go OFA, and that's with 2 OT losses, one in college hoops and one in a shootout in hockey. And we'll talk about Oregon and Utah last night. A game that we personally thought, would see more scoring in regards to, I thought, Utah would be well into the 30s. And I thought an Oregon team that would come out guns blazing, which they didn't. And as that game progressed, the more and more talk on social media was, is this coach already signed, sealed, delivered on his way to Miami? Or is someone else checking in and stuff? So again, when you get to these championship games, when you get to these bowl games, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of that you don't know about. Coaches in, out, already looking towards next year, already potentially moving to other schools. So we'll get into that. But without further ado, my co-host from the Palm Tree State himself, the one and only Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is happening?
Good morning, Jeff. And last night was pretty fun. And I think that when you're doing these things, sometimes we forget because we bet every day and we do this stuff all the time that these games are important. And not only are they important, they're important to be right. These are games that there's a lot of money in there, and we treat them just like every other bet, but most people don't. They're all hyped up and excited because this is hey, these are championship games and these are meaningful games, which they are for lots of different reasons. But these are the games guys like us we got to get right. So I was pretty happy that we did pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, and you could tell early. We talked about Utah and Oregon. I'm going to bring that game up. It's hard when you dig back. For me, when you bring reality and what should happen, any part of the mental game into it, more often than not, we're wrong. There's no such thing as a must win. There's no such thing as, just because X and Y are injured, that means the other team's automatically going to win. I mean, we talk at length when there's all of a sudden so-and-so's a late game scratch and the line moves 1 point. Well, how's it only move 1 point when the guy's averaging 25 points a game? And for ourselves, it's strictly numbers. It's not about the logos. It's not about the names on the back. And you said something yesterday that really stuck with me. Just sometimes you're the better team. That's all. And Utah was the better team. And the reason I'm saying that is we're going to get into, Georgia and Alabama at some point today. And listen, part of me mentally says, listen, Georgia's already in. Yeah, it's great to knock Alabama out of this, get them the hell out, send them to the Orange Bowl or whatever. It's our year. It's our time to shine. We don't have to open up the playbook. We're in. And a team of desperation, a team that must win to get into the Final Four. So I can see this at 8:00 tonight. All the Georgia backers, when they go box to wire, I told you so. I mean, no one scored more than 17 on Bama. I mean, it was a lock. They haven't been underdogs in a bazillion years. You can get them plus 195 on the money line. What are you guys, fools? Or all the Alabama winners saying Georgia had nothing to play for. It didn't matter. You knew they would get 2 SEC teams in there. That's just what they wanted. So I'm playing devil's advocate both sides, but just the stage is yours, my brother.
Yeah, well, I just think that today's a pretty fun day. I started looking at these games a little earlier in the week, and I knew there was going to be a game that I stepped out on a little bit today, and I did. But we'll get to that because it's a later game. We can just go right down the board however you want to do it. I will tell you that there are 2 games that I didn't spend a whole lot of time on. The first one is Houston-Cincinnati. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on Houston-Cincinnati. I've got numbers. We can talk about them, but I didn't go through it too much. I didn't go through Iowa, Michigan that much, and I didn't go through Utah State, San Diego State that much. I made 3 bets, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't want to make any more bets, so I don't want to look at any more games. So that's kind of what I did. But anyway, I have numbers. I can go over and share anything with any of that stuff. However, those are the ones that I didn't go deep diving on, and some of these other ones I went deep diving in, and you might be surprised a little bit how I turned out some of these games. I think we're gonna. You want to talk about Baylor first?
Well, what I was going to say to everyone is what I saw overnight, and we've had these lines since Sunday morning, Sunday night. So they've done a lot of changing. So you'll see a lot of people on social media today say, well, I got that number at such a better price. My EV, my CLV, blah, 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 blah. But what I did notice overnight is, the Oklahoma State now up to 6.5, which I thought that number would be. You got the Kent State now up to a 4 there. The Appalachian State, UL Lafayette State at 2 and a hook. There was some overnight a smidgen. They're sticking at hold on one second. They're sticking at the 10.5 on the Cincinnati game. Georgia will not get over the 7. It's staying at 6.5 there. The Pitt is now up to a solid 3.5. There was a big full point move. Michigan now a full 12.5 overnight. San Diego State up to a flat 6, which has been hanging around there. Actually did see some 6 in the hooks. So there seems to be a little buyback in Utah State. And the USC Cal game has been stuck on 4.5. There is a 5 right now at our friends at Circa. Good morning, Derek, Mr. Metcalf and company there. So there has been some movement, but you're going to usually see your initial movement was going to be more on the Monday, Tuesday spot there. So whatever you're feeling comfortable, shooters shoot, so shoot away.
Well, the first game I looked at today was the Baylor-Oklahoma State game. And there's some big issues here, right? So the Baylor quarterback, he got hurt in Kansas State's game. So he had a hamstring problem. He didn't play the second half of that game. And then he missed all last week. So they had to play Texas Tech last week. And they had to try to beat that team with a backup quarterback who's a young kid who has very limited experience. And it really showed that he had pretty limited experience last week. Basically, Baylor tried to win that game on defense and run the ball down their throats, what happened. And they did. But so it was very it's a hard game to handicap when you don't have that quarterback playing for Baylor. Now, the quarterback, his name is Gary Bohannon, and he's not the best quarterback in the world. I mean, he's, we talked about that kid from Western Kentucky last night. I mean, Jesus, we talked about that game too. I mean, that nobody can stop anybody in that game. But this kid is not that caliber of a kid. I mean, he doesn't have 50 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. That's not this guy. But he is a seasoned player, and he's one of those kids that he's a scrambler around guy. He's a make plays guy. He's a guy that you on defense you don't want to deal with because he makes things out of nothing. And I just found out that he is in this game. He is going to play, And I think that that's kind of a weird setup in a sense that you said that the numbers were changing a little bit and people are betting now on Oklahoma State. I don't know that they know that this kid's going to be playing for Baylor. At the beginning part of the week, I didn't think he was going to be playing, and certainly he is. So it's an interesting scenario here. Now, having said all of that, after I handicapped this game and started breaking the numbers down, it's interesting, right? Baylor already played Oklahoma State. They played in October. It was October the 2nd. Oklahoma State won 24-14. But that score of 24-14 doesn't tell you that Oklahoma State scored a touchdown with less than 3 minutes to go in the game to make it 10 points. The Oklahoma State outgained them by 126 yards. And what was interesting is Oklahoma State ran the ball for 218 yards in that game. And that's the most Baylor gave up in terms of rushing against them. Baylor was held to 107 yards rushing. That's half of the next lowest number that they had all season. So Oklahoma State played almost probably as well as they can in that game. They only have a couple of common opponents. I shouldn't say a couple. They played in the Big 12, so they got everybody's a common opponent. And this is where this gets out of hand for me, because they all played Kansas. They played Iowa State, West Virginia, Texas, TCU, Oklahoma. They played Kansas State and Texas Tech. So, they played all those teams, both of them. Baylor outscored those teams by 96 points. And Oklahoma State by 162 points. Okay, so that tells one story, right? So almost double the amount of points they beat these teams by. Baylor outgained those teams by 583 yards. Oklahoma State outgained those same teams by 1,187 yards. Oklahoma State is the much better football team here than what Baylor is. I don't know how else other than to say it than that. So to a certain degree, I don't really care that this quarterback's going to play. Now, it made me feel a little bit more comfortable that if he wasn't going to play, I was going to dive right into that as soon as I found out. Now, I did find out that he's going to play, and I also feel as though because the game was 24-14, they scored a late touchdown. They were only ahead by 3 points. That I think the line is going to be too big here, and I'm not going to play this game as one of the ones I thought I was going to. That total of 46, is it still 46 or did it move? It looks like maybe 45 and a half now.
I got 45 at circa 45 and a hook at our friends John Murray and company at Westgate. 46 at South Point for Mr. Vaccaro and Chris Andrews, 46 at Caesar. So it's bouncing in that 45, 46 range with an opening number of 49. So, currently right now as it stands, they're giving you that 27-20 feeling, Scotty.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I thought it was going to be more like 24-16, something like that. 24-10 maybe if that other quarterback was going to play. I didn't think they were going to score very many points. So that just tells me that it's kind of like right on the number. And so if you're going to play this game, you get to 6.5, you got to hope they win by a touchdown. And if you're the other side, you really almost got to see what you can get if you want 7.5 points, because and what they'll give you, because the truth of the matter to me is that's a pretty key number here, and I don't think that I don't think that you want to play the under, because the under best numbers are already gone, and I think they're just chasing after the steam here. So I'm at a point in this particular game where I'm passing on it, but that's the way I broke it down.
So right now on Don Best, I got the Bohannon kid hamstring as doubtful, and the Shapen kid as in and starting.
You mean the backup kid?
Well, this I just got two critical notices. So for Baylor, QB Jerry Bohannon
Yeah.
hamstring doubtful, and then I got Baylor Blake Shapen probable.
Yeah, the report that I saw came out and said, and this was from somewhere in Baylor and news outlet there, and said that there was good news there that the injury wasn't, he was being held out of last week, so he didn't tweak it any further. It wasn't that bad of a deal, and he was going to play today.
So who's their starter?
Who's what?
Who's their starter?
Bohannon.
All right, so now we're getting conflicting reports here because again, the notice from Don Best is that Bohannon is doubtful, Shapen is now a go, and as soon as this came out, Westgate went to 7, DraftKings to 7, Caesars to 7, Pinnacle to 7. So again, we pay for a handful of services and we get these instantly. And listen, these are not, go run to the window automatics, because Sports Insight has thrown us a few curveballs in the days that we've been with them. But I'm just saying, as it stands right now, Don Best is telling me Shapen is starting and Bohannon is doubtful. So
yeah. What I saw was a report, and I'm trying to pull it back up and see where I can get anything any bit quicker on this game. It says Gary Bohannon injury, Baylor quarterback returning from injury status versus Oklahoma State 1 hour ago. And this said that he was going to play, but now I can't find the exact. This isn't the story. This is, it's a big deal for him to play in this game, because if he's not going to play, Jeff, they're not going to score points. Okay. I don't have anything else other than that.
I see everyone bouncing it up to 7 now.
Yeah, they're jump. That's what they should do. Jump in on that if you were going to do that, because I figured if he wasn't going to play, then that kid that is playing, they're going to try to protect him. And the truth of the matter is that they're going to run the football. So here's how this breaks down, right? So Oklahoma State rushing the football. They rank 89th. They're. It doesn't matter what their offense is. It really just doesn't, because their defense. Their defense is 3rd ranked in all the football in college football. Against the run, they're 2nd in all of the land, and passing wise, they're 8th. They got a great defense, and if you're going to put this kid in there, and the other thing is they are the number 1 defensive sack rate team in all of football. And they're going to go against a offensive line that's pretty good, but I don't know if it's going to hold up here against this team. So everywhere you look, Baylor's going to have trouble moving the football, and if this other kid's going to play quarterback, then that's a big problem for Baylor. Like a big problem. He struggled against Texas Tech, and Texas Tech has no defense. So he's going to play against this team, and this team, they're I don't want to say that that's how they win these games. And if they're got 1,200 point or yards out gaining these teams, it's not because their offense is up there going up and down the field like Oklahoma's does. It's because the other team doesn't move the football. If you follow what I'm saying. So if that kid's not playing, 2 touchdowns is good.
And this one kind of sets the tone because, again, 4:00 is Georgia, Alabama. Okay, if Alabama loses, they're out. And the naysayers yesterday said, well, on some of the shows, it was kind of comical. Well, If Alabama loses by a late field goal, they're going to take them in over a undefeated. No. So here's the deal. It's simply the way I have this played out. Oklahoma sets the tone at 12 o'clock today. They win, and they're rooting for Georgia, because if Georgia beats Alabama, I think you're going to, and Michigan obviously holds on and wins, you're going to have a Georgia, Michigan, Cincy moves to 3, and then Okie State moves to 4, and the case is closed.
Yeah. So Bohannon, his EPA as a quarterback, he's 45th out of 130 schools. So that's not terrible. I mean, half is going to be 65. So he's in the top half. And the quarterback for Oklahoma State, his EPA is 48. So, I mean, like, there's no advantage that way. But if you take 45 EPA out and then you put some kid in there that's got, one game experience and he's a young player against this defense, that flips the switch, because then they're going to have to try to run the ball. And that's like, I don't know. You will see those cartoons when the Popeye is putting on some kind of weird ass helmet and he's running right into a brick wall all the time. That's exactly what this is going to look like. And then Oklahoma State can score when they want to score. Now, Baylor on the other side, they don't have a bad defense. I mean, their defense is pretty good, but it's not Oklahoma State good. So it's one of those scenarios where Oklahoma State's not going to have fun moving the ball either, but at the same time, they'll score enough, and Baylor's not going to get a chance to score much at all with that other kid playing, if that's the way it plays out. Because what I was reading said that the injury report or the injury to this kid was not that. Let me pull up one more other thing here. Was not like crazy, and he was going to get a chance to play. Update college football. There it is. Let's see. What team is this? Baylor. It still says on this report, it still says that it's championship game versus Oklahoma State is unclear whether he's going to play or not. But you said you got a report from Don Best, so I would trust Don Best. I mean, they're not going to sit there and tell you something stupid.
Again, they probably, it comes out an hour before kickoff. They're out on the field. They're stretching it out and stuff. And it's just said doubtful. They didn't rule them out. So, bring them back into the locker room, see if they can loosen that up or whatever. But again, you're not seeing it move to 7.5 or anything. Circus back to 6 and a hook. Westgate 7. South Point back to 6 and a hook. Caesars 7. WinBet at 6.5. Your Pinnacle and DraftKings at a flat 7 as well. So.
The only reason I think it's important to know whether this kid's going to play is because if the young kid's going to play, they got no chance. I mean, they don't have there's no chance. If the Bohannon kid plays, he's at least got experience. He can do the right thing with the football. He won't make the mistakes that a young player would. And he won't have to be protected by the offensive signal calling, right? Because they're not gonna, if it's third and 8, Bohannon's gonna be in the drop back and he's gonna throw, or he can scramble and run to get a first down. This other kid, they're just gonna hand the ball off and go, hey, go, let's see if we can gain 8 yards off tackle. You know what I mean? That's what's gonna happen. So they don't want to turn the ball over. They don't want to make those kind of mistakes with that kind of a quarterback. So the leash is really going to be tight. And, I watched some of that Baylor game with Texas Tech, and it was awful. So I expect this defense to be able to just, I mean, I don't want to say confuse that kid, because I don't know that they're going to even try to do that. They just go out there and manhandle them, and that'll be it. That'll be how it goes. So it's interesting. I just think that if you can find out for sure, and maybe they're going to tell you on TV right before kickoff. I don't know. Maybe we'll know 100%. I still can't find it on the internet telling me who's going to play. But I thought when I originally read that the injury was not quite as severe as what they wanted it. I thought it was going to be, and that he would play today. And that changed my aspect of, okay, do I really want to jump in here? If the kid was going to play, I don't care what you can give me 2 touchdowns and I'll try to cover it.
All right. Moving along. Again, the board's wide open. Tell us, what you're seeing now. Your plays today. Tell everyone what you played and why.
Well, I played. Where's my little sheet at here? I made three plays today, and the first game I played is in that App State and ULL game. This team, University of Lafayette, I really like that team, but I don't like them matched up in this game. So the way this game kind of breaks out is App State is 12th in EPA on defense, and Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns there, they are 26th on defense. So these are two really strong defensive teams. These two teams did play each other.
I was just going to say that if my memory serves me correct, it was a Thursday night game. We were all over UL Lafayette, and they steamboated App State, if I remember correctly.
They did. They crushed them. And yes, we were on Louisiana that day, but they beat them 41-13. That's the so I started looking at some other stuff here. So App State has played three top offenses, right? They played Miami of Florida, they played Marshall, and they played Coastal Carolina. These are good offenses, top 30 offenses anyway. They gave up 25 points to Miami of Florida, 30 points to Marshall, and 27 points to Coastal Carolina. That's the most they gave up, except for that weird 41-13 game. Now, when you look at that game and you go back into that game, they were -3 on turnovers in that game. So it's kind of a scenario where 21 points got set up for Louisiana in that spot. So it's an interesting thing here. What's also interesting in this is that Louisiana Lafayette allowed over 30 points one time, only once, and that was to University of Texas. So, it's just a mismatch. And then they allowed over 25 points just twice. Arkansas State scored 25 points. So you got to sit here and think to yourself, neither one of these teams should really get to a point where they score 25 points. And the total's 52. When I bet it, it was 52.5. I think it might be 52, might even be 51.5 now. But I bet this game under because of the way the defenses are. App State has allowed, like I said, those teams to go over. The last three games that App State's played, they allowed less than 10 points 3 times straight. 17 points or less 6 times this year. This is a team that can play defense. And then when I started looking at it, I think App State's the better football team than what Louisiana is. The common opponents for them, there's 6 of them, and App State outscored them by 180 points, and Louisiana only 34 points. So they played real close, real tight games. I mean, that's an average of 5 points basically that they're beating these teams by. And then that really played out with the yards. App State was 997 yards better than those same teams that Louisiana played. They only outgained them by 113. So that kind of tells me a little bit about Louisiana's offense. Even though it's kind of graded pretty good, they're an offense that runs the football. Okay, well, what's the strength of App State? Shit, they play great defense, and they are ranked 16th against the run. Go ahead and run on them. Try to run on them. I don't think that you're going to have the same success you did the first time. And then passing-wise, that's what App State does. They throw the ball all over the damn place, and it never used to be that way coming out of that school, but they do now. Their quarterback, his name is Chase Bryce. He ranks 29th in EPA. And I'm going to be honest, I had to go digging deep to find the EPA numbers for the kid out of Louisville or Louisiana. His name's Levi Lewis. He actually ranks 83rd, but that's on some kind of weird website. I had to find it because he didn't even rank on any of the other ones. He doesn't show up. And when I try to do the QBR numbers, he's not even there. So it's one of these situations where you got more of a pro style I shouldn't say pro style. You got more of a pro style quarterback in Chase Bryce. You've got a guy that's top 10 offense throwing the football. And we all know that's how you win football games these days. And you got a great defense in App State. So I don't think that Louisiana is going to have the same success today that they did before. And I think that Louisiana's defense is just good enough that they're going to keep these numbers under 52. And that's what I bet. I bet under 52.5 in that game.
No, I can see it again. We talked revenge factor last night, and it was nowhere to be found. I do remember the App State UL Lafayette. We were giggling the whole time watching that game. It was a box to wire. Yet again, App State comes out as the initial favorite. And what I would like to tell everyone listening here is I'm showing 67% of the bets, 80% of the money on Lafayette. Yet the line opened at 2 and is now trending to 2.5, which to us is less bets, less money, which is reverse line movement. And the sharper, heavier money is coming in on App State.
Yeah, I lean that way. I think they're the better football team here. You don't have to cover it, but a field goal. So, but these are low scoring games, and I think it'll be a low scoring game. But so that's why I bet it that way. I didn't play that Kent State Northern Illinois game. I looked at that game. I don't see that game as the same way I saw the game last night where, what's interesting about this game is let me pull up the spreadsheet. What's interesting about this game is you have a quarterback in Kent State. The kid's name's Dustin Crum. I mean, I don't know if people know who he is, but his name's Dustin Crum.
Harry Crump's cousin.
He is 11th EPA in all of college football. He's really, really good. His QBR is 25. I mean, you got 130 schools, and you're that. Well, you're that's pretty good. But even though they're that good, their passing EPA is 60. I'm like, what the hell? You got a great quarterback. You must not have anybody that can go down there and catch the ball or do something or whatever. But here's what's the amazing thing. We talked about this, right? 130 schools get graded. So the defense for Kent State, they rank 115th. Holy shit, there's 15 teams worse than them. But guess what? They're playing one of them. The Northern Illinois, they're 125th on defense. So then you sit there and you go, holy shit, no wonder there's 75, 76, 77, 70. I mean, they're just betting it to go over. But these offenses aren't the same as the offenses in the last night's game. The Western Kentucky offense and UTSA. These aren't those offenses. They're not bad offenses, but they're not those offenses, and they're not those quarterbacks. So you got to step back a little bit, and I get it. These are. I mean, Jeff, to be honest, I think we could go out there and score a touchdown. I could throw you the football, and those guys they would fumble around and trip and fall, and you could score. I don't, there's nothing here that says they're going to stop each other, but they did play each other. You know what the score was? 52-47. They scored 99 points when they played each other already this year. Kent State won the game. I just can't go back to the well and go back over now. Now it's too the line's already moved, and I don't want to go chasing that in this spot. But I mean, I couldn't fault you if you wanted to, because they might score 100, but they also might only score 70. So I skipped that one. So that brings me to Georgia, Alabama. I did play this game, and you're probably going to go, shit, he's on Georgia and blah 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 and all this. I played Alabama, and the reason that I played Alabama is because there's some conflicting stuff out here. So here's number one. Alabama, they only played 4 teams that are common opponents. They played Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee. Alabama outscored those teams by basically 40 points, 39 points, and Georgia outscored them by 112. Okay, so that's 3 times as much. So that's they're a better football team. Well, you kind of got to look at the yards, right? So Georgia outgained them by 396 yards. Alabama outgained them by 550. So Georgia didn't have the same success. They just scored the points. Now, maybe there's some other things at play there that would change that, meaning that, they took their foot off the gas or they did whatever. But I think that means is the defense for Georgia is what created that yardage margin, not the offense. And if you look at what's going on with Alabama gets that way because their offense is elite. Their offense ranks number 4 in all of football. They have the 5th ranked passing offense, and they just don't run the ball that great compared to what they used to. And their defense is good against the run, not as good against the pass. And defense for Georgia is 1 across the board all the way through. But you got a quarterback in Bryce Young who is a little better than the quarterback for Georgia. And I think that, we can all, they've played each other, I don't know how many times over the past few years, and Alabama's beaten them every single time. Now, I'm betting down here, so this is a little bit unfair for me to say. With the Seminole Indians, the Hard Rock Casino app. And I ended up getting I ended up getting Alabama at plus 7.5. So that's why I bet it. I took it at that number. I'm still telling you, go ahead and take them at 6.5. My numbers come out that this is going to be a field goal type game. This is not going to be one of those games where, one team's going to go way out ahead. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen that way. And I think you're going to see a pretty good effort from Alabama. And I think Alabama is going to play well here. The other part of this game that I had written down when I looked at it is that even though Georgia's defense is elite, their offense is pretty good, but it's all throwing the football, which is a weakness for Alabama. But at the same time, you have the same offensive power for Alabama throwing the football. And I don't think that at this point, Georgia has seen offenses to this level. When you go back and kind of look at the offensive powers that Georgia has faced, the only team that's even given any kind of credit to having any kind of they played Florida. That's a pretty good offensive football team, but not, an elite offensive team. They played Auburn. That's not a very elite offensive football team. They played South Carolina. They played Clemson, and you know all about those guys. They haven't played an offensive power except for maybe, I don't even know if you would call Tennessee an offensive power. So they haven't faced a team like Georgia yet, or Alabama. So I kind of like the idea that this is going to be a strength on strength kind of thing. And when you start to look at, so Alabama played Mississippi. Mississippi's got a good offense. They played Tennessee, it's a good offense. They played Arkansas, decent offense. They played Auburn, decent offense. I just don't think that you have the same caliber of teams that Georgia has faced on offense that they will today. And I like the idea that I'm going to get points with Alabama. And I how do you turn that away? I mean, I don't think you can. So I went and bet it that way. So that was two of my plays. And then the game I stepped out on was Pittsburgh tonight. I got them at 2.5 when I got it a little early because I knew it was going to be this way. But at the same time, what is it? Is it 3.5 now or 3?
No, it's at 3.5. 62% of the bets, 56% of the money, all coming in on Pitt. Opened up at 2. It's 3.5 straight across the Vegas Strip. You can get it at 3 minus 120 currently at WinBet.
So, do you know who the quarterback for Wake Forest is? Shit, I recognized his name, but I can't tell you who he is off the top of my tip of the tongue, right?
I mean, the name that everyone knows, obviously, in this game is Pickett, and that's the Pittsburgh quarterback.
So Sam Hartman is the quarterback for Wake Forest, and his EPA rank is number 3 in football. I didn't know that. I mean, I figured that because they've got a good offense. Kenny Pickett's number 2 at the quarterback spot. QBR wise, they're 7 and 8. So okay, there's no advantage to the quarterback spot. I mean, they're just not. Where the advantage here is Pittsburgh on defense. They rank 16th. Wake Forest on defense ranks 103rd. And now, if you're going to be telling me that you're going to have a mismatch like this in a championship game, give me the defense that can play offense, right? So that's what Pittsburgh can do. They're the defense that can play offense. So Wake Forest has outscored the common opponents, and the common opponents you'll like this. This is Clemson, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, Syracuse. There's 5 of them. They outscored them by 37 points, just slaughtering them. And then the next one, Pittsburgh beat all those teams by 70 points, so doubled them. And then when it comes to the yardage, Wake Forest outgained them by 173. Pittsburgh outgained them by 582. So there's 4 times as many yards, 3 times as many points, and it's because of the defense. So I only got to cover 2.5. I think you're good up to a touchdown in this game. I think Pittsburgh is also got a really good scenario here when like Wake Forest, their offensive line protecting the quarterback ranks 44th in the country. But Pittsburgh is 4th at rushing the quarterback. So I think that that's going to be pressure on this kid. And on the other side, Wake Forest defense is 43rd at rushing the quarterback, and Pittsburgh's offensive line is 42. So it's not really an advantage one way or the other. So what I like here is that defensively, Wake Forest ranks 98th against the pass and 96th against the run. Means they can't stop either one. So if you're Pittsburgh, who ranks 22nd passing and 55th rushing, you should be able to set up the pass or do whatever you want to, because Wake Forest can't stop you, and you're going to get enough stops against their offense that puts you in a spot where you only got to cover 2.5, 3.5, whatever the number is. It's not 4 yet, so that's another key number. So bet it at 3.5, and then take it to that point, and then I think you're going to be in pretty good shape here. That was the game that I liked the most, and I liked it the most because I don't think that Wake Forest can stop Pittsburgh, and they didn't play each other this year. So this is one of those scenarios or one of those spots where you just kind of hope that the matchup works in your advantage, and based on the teams that they've played, it's pretty obvious that Pittsburgh's the better side.
All right. Closing thoughts, sir.
Well, closing thoughts are it's fun to watch these games. These games have different meanings and different things for everybody. What's the guy's name? Billy Napier. He just came from UL Lafayette, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he's the He is the head coach. Yeah. Okay. Here's another thing that people have to keep an eye on. Billy Napier is now the head coach of the University of Florida. This is his last game at Louisiana Lafayette. So, are they going to have an inspired performance today? Are they going to play well? And if they do, it's probably going to be defensively, not so much offensively. So that was another reason why I like that game to go under. And those are the different dynamics and things that you got to kind of watch for as these games go. So it ought to be interesting to see how that turns out. I think App State's kind of the of those what do they call them, mid-major teams. They're not Big Five or whatever. They're one of the ones that are out there that have set the tone and set the pace. And I think Lafayette's going to have to be one of those teams that, hey, they had a great season. I think they get beat today by App State. And I think it's a low-scoring game, and then whoever goes and coaches him in the bowl game, because he'll go off to do the Florida stuff.
Yeah, and I'll close with this. I talked about that in the start of the show. The more the Oregon game went on, the more the talks about, is he going to Miami? Is he heading wherever? I heard a rumor yesterday. I almost fell off the office stool that Debo and the defensive coordinator are heading to Oklahoma, which would be kind of comical to see them jump ship from Clemson and head over to Oklahoma. But it is what it is. And Brian Kelly and that Southern drawl, I mean, dude, please just stick to the script, stick to who you are, please. Don't. That's one thing you can't do. Don't come to the South and act like you're from the South, okay? You stick out like a sore thumb, and there's no need for that. But I want to thank everyone here. It's been a great week as we're trying to do what we do every day here. We're just trying to educate. We're trying to tell you, from my point of view, what the market is telling us, and from Scotty's point of view. And it's great when we come to the same conclusion. And sometimes, we're on opposite sides. That's just how it goes. But we're not just picking up today's hot off the press and what's the past trends for the past 10 games, yada, yada, and all those other crawlers, I like to call them. We're trying to give you as much information as possible. So when you do go to the window, you're not just going blindly or going off of game day right now and what Kirk Herbstreit said or what mascot he puts on his head or all that good stuff. So it was a great show as always. It's been a great week. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, go on to social media. Go to Twitter at EC Sports Invest or go to Scotty at Webby20MLB on Twitter. Follow us. We'll follow you back. Our DMs are open 24/7. Any questions about East Coast Sports Investors, send us an email at eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. And if you guys got 10 seconds, we'd love you to death to jump over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors, subscribe, hit the like button, and the same over to Twitch. Our goal is to, in 2022, to get some live streaming where we can go in game and maybe help you win some money that way. So for today, anyone wagering today, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number right there. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. And wishing everyone a blessed day. Cash some tickets. Enjoy championship week. And myself and Scotty will see you bright and early tomorrow morning as we try to crack the Da Vinci Code and week 13 of in the NFL. So have a blessed day and see you soon.